You are watching Stewart Spotlight Podcast live with your host, William Stewart Jr. with topics of everyday life. Tune in every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Today's guest, John Green, Director of Human Resources. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode. Now your host, William Stewart Jr.
Good evening and welcome to Stewart Spotlight Podcast. My name is William Stewart Jr. and I am your host this evening. Today is Friday, May 23rd, 2025. How time is flying when we're having so much fun. I hope everyone had a wonderful week and getting ready for this weekend, because this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. And I can smell the barbecue and chicken and hot links and all that good stuff on the grill. So if you want to invite me, just call me. I'll be there. Anyway, it's that time of the season right now. Not time of the season, it's time of the day that I need your support. Now you ask me, how could I help you? I'm glad you asked. This is how you can help me. I need your support. I need you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and make sure you turn on your notifications. So therefore, every time you hear this, you know that Stewart Spotlight Podcast is live. Yep, that's right. Make sure you turn on your devices, your laptop, computer, phone, and every time you hear that notification on your bell, on your phone or your devices, you know that we are live. And make sure you leave a comment. Give us some feedback of how you are enjoying the show, and so therefore we can do more and more. I have a quote for this week. This week quote is, our nation owes a debt to its fallen heroes we can never fully repay. That came from President Barack Obama. That's the quote of this week. My guest today is a dear friend of mine who I haven't seen for a while, but we always be in contact, is, I want to say doctor, but I'm going to say John Green. John Green, the Director of Human Resources. And we're going to talk about HR, the duties and responsibility of an HR department. And he's the director. He's going to be able to tell you all the do's, the don'ts, the pros, the cons, and things in order to get a job. But, I put together a little tribute because, Monday is Memorial Day, as we honor and mourn the military personnel who died while serving in the armed service. So after this break, we will have my guests on. Stay tuned. Yes, that's right. Welcome back to Stewart Spotlight Podcast. My name is William Stewart. I'm the host of this show. I'm not going to prolong this program as we speak. I want to bring my guests on so we can talk about HR business. Without further ado, my guest, all the way from Maryland, John Green. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, William. Good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, I can't complain. So what's been going on in Maryland? Talk to me. I haven't seen you in a while, but at least we are in contact.
Well, in Maryland, it's known as the DMV, District, Maryland, and Virginia. So, we have an occupant in a particular house in the District of Columbia that is causing havoc.
Woo!
So all of us are just trying to stay sane and support each other.
I truly understand that. Any plans? I'm going to bypass all that stuff. It's all negative. Any plans for Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned cookout earlier. So, one of my siblings is opening and hosting. So I will be there, barbecue, salad, baked beans, you name it.
Call me.
I will. And you can make it. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. So you're located in Maryland.
Yes.
And how long have you been there?
I'm a native. So I was actually born in DC.
Okay.
We moved to Maryland when I was 3, so I'm a native. And I've been here my entire life, and I just traveled the nation and the world. I, tried to relocate after college, but nobody was hiring. So I was like, I'll just stay in this area, but I'll just get plane tickets to go where I want to see.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. Now, how many siblings do you have?
I have 4 siblings.
Okay. So now,
1 brother, 3 sisters.
Are you the oldest, youngest, middle, baby, or what?
I'm the middle.
Oh, you're the
So I'm the
middle
gatekeeper.
child.
I'm the one that makes sure everybody's getting along. I'm the planner.
Yeah. Shut up. So now, were you mischievous when you were a child?
Yeah, when I look back at it, the middle child is the one that
Always
doesn't get any attention. So you do all those little things to make noise so somebody will pay attention to you. That was me. Yeah.
Okay. So now, growing up, did you have any dreams or goal what you wanted to become when you got older?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to be an anchorman or a reporter. Here in DC, there was a anchorman in the 60s, early 70s. His name was Jim Vance. And he literally was the first or only black man that I saw on television. And that sort of like hit me. And I was like, I think I want to do that. So
and
that's what it was.
And I'm assuming it didn't go any further.
Well, I went to college.
Well, we went to college, right?
I went to college and I majored in mass communication, radio, television, and film. It's hard to find a job in that industry.
Okay.
So I gave it a year to find a job. And if it didn't work, I was going to pivot. So while I was looking, I became an administrative assistant because I had good organizational and typing skills. So gave myself a year, it didn't happen. So I pivoted and ended up in HR.
Okay. So did you have any mentors growing up?
Yeah. So, without fail, I can say my dad, who, was a hard worker. My mom died when I was 7. So he was a widow, raising 5 kids. So we learned how to depend on each other, became very independent. He didn't complain. He just did what he needed to do and was a great example.
Wow. Wow. I'm sure it was kind of hard on him because, raising 5 kids and as a single parent,
Yep.
especially as a middle child being mischievous.
Well,
So now,
let me just say that didn't last long.
so he did not spare the rod, did not.
No, yeah, he was in the Army for 20 years, so he gave you a little bit to hang yourself, and
that says it all, right there. So
Yep.
So John, now you went through college. receive your bachelor's degree, you receive your master's in human resources, correct?
Yes.
So now, many individuals, such as myself before all this, but many individuals thought of HR just a paper shuffling. Okay, you hired, here's your package, go on by your business. So now,
Hmm.
could you give us some scenarios? I'm gonna give you some scenarios about different responsibilities in HR. Um,
Okay.
I'm gonna give you an example. An employer wants to hire a bookkeeper. What does HR do?
Oh, so uh, well, first let me frame the total, and then I'll get to your specific.
Okay,
HR does a lot for the organization,
right.
anywhere from hiring and recruiting to compensation to employee relations to benefits. So the full gamut of making sure that the organization is safe
Hmm.
and that we are looking after and enhancing the lives of the employees and their families.
Okay. So
So in your example for hiring the
bookkeeper.
bookkeeper, it's meeting with the supervisor,
Okay.
finding out their needs and wants, basically, hopefully from the job description, uh, posting, so that's putting the position up on job boards, either in at colleges or online. Some of the sites that you've seen, the job sites, is Indeed
Hmm.
or ZipRecruiter. People apply,
Hmm.
then people in HR have to screen the people that are applying to make sure they meet those qualifications to give us a pool of applicants.
Hmm.
And then they forward those to the managers who then let us know who they'd like to interview, and we move forward with that.
Okay, so now you just mentioned something. So therefore, HR would gather all the information that the supervisor wanted to post and give it to HR, and HR would do their homework and post it on all these media, uh, mega, whatever. And
Hmm.
you get 100 applicants.
Yep.
Do you give the 100 applicants to the supervisor, or do you HR do they screen
We screen.
each one?
So, it's funny you mentioned bookkeeper. So, a lot of times, if I am recruiting for an accountant,
Okay.
I will get people who think they are accountants because they are cashiers. They have some kind of number position, they deal with numbers, but they don't really meet the qualifications.
Wow.
One of the things that makes it easier is an applicant tracking system. So when you send your resume in, it goes through an applicant tracking system,
Hmm.
which sort of has like, AI. So it reads the words on your resume and matches that. How well does it match the job description? And then it gives it a rating of either A, B, and C. So
Wow.
usually I have 100, I'll look at the A's first because the applicant tracking system has done its job to tell us, hey, these are the ones that match exactly what you're looking for. However, if we don't find that, then we'll move to the B's, and rarely do we move to the C's.
Wow. So this is all automatic.
All automated.
Wow.
Exactly.
So when did this take place? Has this always been in place, or this is something that all HR is implementing?
This has been in place probably for the past 20 years,
Really?
about. Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that.
when people send if they go to Coca-Cola and they want to apply for a job, they hit the link to
Right.
upload their resume, it's going into an applicant tracking system.
Okay. Now, what about
And
if
then
an individual send in a resume on paper?
nobody does that anymore.
Well, before 20 years ago, they used to.
But yes, they used to.
Okay. All right.
Yes, yeah, I remember going to the store getting the good paper.
Right.
So your resume would stand out, the cream color that was a
Right.
little bit heavier. So
Yes.
it,
Yes.
it stood out when
Right.
people had a pile of paper. Yeah, you're
Right.
right.
Wow.
But like everything, things have changed.
Change.
It's become more automated to make life easier both for the applicants and for those of us in HR.
Wow. Wow. That's interesting. So I'm going to, because you mentioned it earlier, recruiting, benefits, compensation, employee relations, disability, and so forth. Can you just give us a little scenario about the recruiting aspect that you already said? Let's go with the benefits part.
Sure, benefit. So, people aren't just applying for jobs just to get paid. What else comes with that?
Hmm.
So, think about life, health, disability, vacation time,
Right,
sick time,
right.
401ks. So, all of those packages are within HR.
Okay. So therefore, if John Doe were to get the bookkeeping position, therefore HR would compile all of the benefits that goes with the bookkeeping
Yep.
position.
So, yep, every employee gets a paycheck and you get your benefits. You may have to pay for some of them. The company picks up another piece of it, but yes, the benefits are part of the employment process.
So what about the compensation? Because is there a range? Because that the
Yes,
employers say, okay, I'm going to pay this person between $10 and $15 an hour.
yes.
So how do they come up with this range? Is it a job search analyst or what?
So every 2 years, I do a compensation structure study. So we send our information to a consultant who um, reviews and analyzes the market both locally and nationally
Okay.
to see what, let's say let's stay with the bookkeeper. So the bookkeeper job in Washington, D.C., the pay range or average pay range is this.
Okay.
Bookkeeper across the country, average range is this. So that's how we come up with the ranges because, there's a philosophy for organizations. Do you want to lag the market? Do you want to meet the market or do you want to lead the market? And that just basically means if you're lagging, you're willing to pay less than what the average is. If you're meeting, then you're paying the average. And if you're leading, you're paying above average for that job.
Now, you just mentioned city to city. So therefore, some cities, such as Maryland or Washington, the cost of living is much higher than a city in Detroit. So how do you compare a bookkeeping position in Detroit versus Maryland? And if they're doing this,
You can get a national average.
okay,
So, one, it depends on where the position is located. So for us, the position would be located in DC. So we'd be more interested in the local uh, compensation for that position.
okay. Oh, wow, that's interesting. Employee relations.
Yes. So, employee relations can be good and bad. So, some of the positive aspects of employee relations, when you're thinking about it, think about when you're at your organizations and they are doing celebrations. So, you might have things like Employee of the Month or birthday and
Okay,
anniversary celebrations
okay,
or the holiday parties. Those are all part of employee relations to build morale and keep morale high.
okay,
Some of the not so positive aspects of employee relations might be if people are not performing to the standards that we're paying them for.
mm,
So let's stay with your bookkeeper. If the bookkeeper isn't coming in on time, always being late, if the bookkeeper's work is incorrect, then we're going to have to address it. And those would be addressed based on our policies and procedures in regards to the standards that we're expecting for workers at our organization. So that would have to be addressed. So, it's not always a positive aspect of HR, but it's a necessary aspect. HR's main goal is to protect the organization.
mm.
I've heard sometimes people say, oh, HR is my friend. I want to be very clear. HR is not your friend. HR is
Wait,
friendly,
okay,
but HR is not your friend. HR's main purpose is to protect the organization.
okay. That makes. I used to always say, "Oh, I know somebody in HR. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but they're not friendly. They're friendly, but they're not friends. Okay, so now you mentioned something about their work performance. So
Yes.
if the supervisor is writing you up saying a poor evaluation and they submit it to HR, or do they just document it for themselves?
So I'm a firm believer that no one should get any notification regarding their performance or discipline until I have reviewed it.
Wow.
Again, because my job is to protect the organization. So if they have something in there that is not specific or they can't justify why they're doing it, then we're not administering it.
Oh,
So my advice to supervisors is document.
mm,
Um, that's the best and easiest way because you might have a department of 20 and you might not be able to, follow that one person because you're busy,
right,
managing the work of 20 people.
right.
So documenting their work, their attendance, if their work continuously comes up incorrect, making copies of those. So when you meet with them, you have an example to show them versus just your opinion. This is
Mm,
fact, and
wow.
this is what we need you to improve on.
Oh, wow. What about disability?
Disability, so that is more of, that's in the medical realm. So we would need some type of medical certification that our disability insurer would have to review, and they determine how severe the disability is, the length of time, and the payment for
Mm,
that. So unless you're a large company and you have an in-house uh, unit that handles workers' comp, typically, you have insurers that handle that. It's cleaner, it's more objective. You're not subjecting yourself to people's private information. Although I'm in HR and I see a lot of information, I don't want to know everything about you. Some things are private. Some things we have to know if people are going out because they're sick, if they're applying for family and medical leave. We administer that, so they're going to have to send the form to us. I don't relish in knowing those intimate, details about anyone's illness.
that makes sense. Now, they passed this new law that if you're married and you have a child, both parents allowed to take off X amount of weeks. What?
Yes, so I reference that. That's the family medical leave.
Okay.
So the federal statute is 12 weeks of leave
For
for the
both
birth of your child.
for both parents?
Yes, unless they work at the same organization, then they may split it. But each individual is allowed up
Oh,
to 12 weeks. Now, family medical leave is unpaid leave. All it does is protects your job for that amount of time.
oh
So
wow.
while you're on that leave, you need to determine how you're going to get paid. So are you
Right,
using your sick leave, are you using your vacation leave, or are you just going to go unpaid for a while?
right. Wow. That's interesting. Wow. Okay. All right. So, John, hang on in there for one moment. We're going to take a little small break and we're going to come back and ask some more questions about some other things.
Sure.
Stay tuned. Hold on. And we're back with my guest, John Green, Director of HR, Human Resources. So we left off on one particular, a person get fired.
Yes.
What's the procedure in a person getting fired?
I would say one, it depends on your organization. So I always have to reference that. It depends on the policies and procedures of your particular organization.
Hmm.
Again, going back to your example with discipline. So my philosophy has been we want to show that we have given the employee every opportunity to succeed
Okay.
before we get to termination. Like, the first sign of problems for me is not to go, oh, they're out of here, let's get them out the door. It's
Mm.
what needs to be corrected. They were on the right track, they've fallen off the track. We need to, when we do a written warning or a verbal one, we need to get them back on track to see their relevance and importance to, the reason why we hired them. Um, However, if that does not correct itself, then we will end up with, termination. So, again, the way that occurs for me is meeting with the supervisor to see their documentation, real proof, not just their opinion, um, and their decision to let that employee go.
Oh,
And so I work in partnership with the supervisors.
okay. So now when HR or the manager of that department put do not rehire, that means you cannot come back to the company to work again?
Exactly.
Period.
Period.
Even after a probational period of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you cannot come back.
Nope.
Interesting.
But also think about it if put yourself in the employee shoes, um, if you've had a not so great experience,
Uh-huh.
it's not really a place you really want to go back to probably ever. I mean, I don't want to say in desperation, but
Hmm.
maybe you like the environment or whatever, and you want to see in a couple of years if things aren't panning out and you apply there. But yeah,
That's the permanent do not rehire.
yep.
Okay, now what about exiting the company? Is there a procedure that HR give you once you leaving the company and going somewhere else, or just maybe just leaving in general?
Yeah, so everyone is entitled to, I mentioned the benefits. So
Hmm.
for your health benefits, everyone is entitled to COBRA, which is a continuation for the ability for you to continue your health care with your group plan that you left.
Hmm.
However, you have to pick up the entire cost of that. So, you may have had biweekly deductions for your health care, let's say maybe $100.
Hmm.
So that's $200 a month or so. However, the real cost of your coverage is about $800. So now, if you want to stay on Cobra, you would have to pay what the company was paying for you.
Wow, that's
Uh,
very expensive.
it is expensive, but it is an option. Other things would be life insurance. For us, people are allowed to, it's called porting their life insurance. So the same life insurance they had with us, the same coverage and the same amount that they were paying, they can take it with them as a private policy with them. So a lot of people, that I speak to, only have the benefits at their organization. So a lot of them are only, of course, covered through healthcare with their organization or have life insurance only through their employer. Very
Okay.
few people have their employer and a private life insurance
Oh
policy.
wow, that's interesting. So therefore, if you were to have life insurance, um, and you were paying $10 a week or $10 so you would keep that same amount, but
Yes.
that's more of a term life insurance versus a whole life, correct?
Yes.
So and it wouldn't pay the double in case something were to happen, accidental life or something like that. That
Accidental death and
right?
dismemberment,
Yes. See, you
probably
know.
not. It's probably just the strict life
That,
insurance piece.
oh, okay. Wow. John, you've been in HR for 36 years
Yep.
with experience in HR. What company you work for?
I work for an organization called URAC,
Okay,
and
so
we do healthcare quality accreditation.
wow. So now, do you have to be recertified every year and stay in compliance with the HR policies?
Uh, no, so my certifications for human resources are good for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So over those 3 years, I have to earn 60 continuing education credits.
Okay. Oh, over the
So
3 years. Oh, wow.
yes.
So it's like going back to school, trying to learn the new
Yeah,
policies.
so every webinar, every seminar, if you're teaching something at your organization, they all go towards that credit.
Wow. Okay. Let me ask another question.
Yes.
You belong to, I mean, not you, but a person belongs to an organization and they are a third party vendor
Hmm.
and they don't have nothing to do with the organization, but they just the third party. So why do they have to comply with the company's uh, uh,
That they're doing business with.
right, which they don't know nothing about the company. They only a third party. So I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, that's primarily because the company that they're doing business with are overseen or regulated by probably some governmental agency or entity
Hmm.
that requires them to adhere to whatever the regulation is. And anyone that does business with them has to do so as well. Because you're connected to them in that way, you bear some responsibility because you're acting as an agent on their behalf by conducting the work that they're parsing out to you.
But if you don't know anything about their business per se, how could you be in compliance with their business, which you just only doing business with? Because now you seem as though you're setting yourself up for failure.
It's not failure, but before you sign the agreement with that organization, you need to realize what your responsibility is as the third party organization that you're going to have to adhere to
Okay.
performing those functions for that organization.
Wow. That's interesting. Okay. Also, John, got a little surprise for you that you were recently named board chair for the court appointed special advocate. Break that one down for us.
Yeah, so this is an organization I've been affiliated with for 19 years. It's the Court Appointed Special Advocates, or CASA, of Prince George's County in Maryland. And what we do is we provide volunteer advocates for children in foster care in Prince George's County. So I
Okay.
started out as a volunteer for 13 years with them. I had uh, two foster kids that I had been with over that time. Um, my last kid I was with for 10 years. They aged out of the system. I took a year break because there's an emotional attachment, and 10 years is a long time.
Hmm.
And then someone approached me about joining the board. So with that, I've been on the board for 6 years, and then this year they approached me about becoming the chair for CASA of the
So
board.
give us some responsibility of a chair of the board.
Sure. So the chair oversees the board meetings. The chair is also responsible for establishing and developing partnerships with community leaders or organizations. Also responsible for, uh, upholding the fundraising aspect of the organization. It is a nonprofit. So we are at the behest of grants and individual donors to continue to operate and provide volunteers for the kids that are in foster care.
So now, since it's a nonprofit, did they lose any kind of funding with somebody?
They actually did. Because, let me see, the Department of Justice has a grant that they were giving we have what's called National CASA that then distributes money. So they withheld uh, monies to nonprofits. So it's going to impact our budget next year significantly. So we're going to have to make some tough choices as either scaling back or hopefully donors, come to the rescue and help us out.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, we'll still be operating, but we won't be able to serve as many children as we need to.
So how many children do they usually serve?
So right now we're serving 145 in the system. There are currently about 300 kids, so we're doing about half.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we need more volunteers,
So if you're in,
definitely more men.
so if you're
Mm,
interested, there's the information on the screen below. Feel free to give them send them an email or give them a call on the 301 number, and you heard it here first, and you got the board chair speaking
Thank you.
as we
Thank
speak.
you, Will.
So want to make sure you get some little props out there. My last question for you: what? Give us some advice or suggestions for
Okay.
the viewers who's watching. What should they do in preparing a resume application or just searching for a job in general?
Okay. First and foremost, I would say do your research. Know what if you know what you want to do, research either what that position does or the industry you're interested in.
Mm,
You know, nothing's worse than having people come in and interview and know nothing about either your organization or the function of the position.
right.
You know, prepare for your interview. Look up interview questions. Be prepared so you're not stumped. Be able to talk about what it is you bring, what you have done, what you can offer.
Mm,
So those would be my tidbits for anyone that's looking for a job and going in for the interviews.
wow. You heard it here first from the director of HR. John Green, I appreciate you coming on the
Thank you,
show
William.
today. And I want you to make sure you stay in contact with Stewart Spotlight. Let us know the process, and maybe if anything we can help you out with as far as the fundraising, we'll be happy to promote it for you. And whatever is needed, just give us a call.
Sure.
All right.
And I'll make sure I like, subscribe, and comment
That's what I'm
on
talking
Stewart
about. See,
Spotlight.
matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's play that one more time.
I need your support. I need you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and make sure you turn on your notifications. So therefore, every time you hear this, you know that Stewart Spotlight Podcast is live.
Thank you for that little plug. I'm glad you mentioned that. Like,
No
subscribe.
problem.
Once again, John, thank you for coming on, and I'll be in contact with you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
one.
You too.
There you go. You heard it from John Green, the director of HR. A lot of wisdom and experience that he just shared with us. So, take a heed to that. And, maybe you're looking for another job. He just gave you a lot of information what you should do. My guest next week guest is a friend of mine's named Reggie Cunningham. Reggie. This is a very interesting story that you're going to hear next week. Life and achievements. He has a story to share. I want y'all to make sure you tune in next week to hear his story of success. And every week I give a Bible verse for the end of the program, and this Bible verse comes from Psalms 116:15. Precious is in the sight of the Lord is the death of his sins, his saints. Make sure you review that. Well, I'm glad that you took the time and watched the show today, and I hope you learned something from it. Once again, Monday is Memorial Day weekend. Be safe, be respectful of the veterans, and be mindful of yourself. Until we meet again, be safe. Good night. God bless.